Thank you for coming for the presentation today. This is Charting and Dashboards Made Easy in SharePoint Online. And we're going to get going with a quick intro. My name is Will Cooper. I am the developer of the SharePoint Dashboards platform. Just to give you a little bit more background about me, I've been a SharePoint solutions developer over the last 10 years. I'm a private consultant. I work with a lot of different businesses to help them build solutions in SharePoint Online and in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And also, I run a YouTube channel called SharePoint Smart. It has information and tips on different things that you can do in SharePoint. So there's some good information and learning you can do there. I use that channel as well to post all the updates about my platform and everything new. Another thing I want to mention, I do a lot with the Ultimate Form software. This is an add-in software for SharePoint, allows you to easily do custom forms and business processes. These are great tools and they work very well with the tool set that I'm going to show you today. If you have any questions or needs or interests related to doing custom forms and business processes in SharePoint, Ultimate Forms is awesome. I use it for all the solutions that I build. Just some ground rules for today. I've got you guys on mute, but that's not because I don't want to hear from you. I absolutely do. The way you can do that is to use the chat interface in GoToMeeting. I absolutely hope that you guys will have questions. Please post them in the chat and I'll respond to you. At the very end, after this and after the recording's over, I will take that off if you guys want to speak with me directly. Another option, I'm very interested to talk with you one-on-one. There is an option, you'll see the link for it. You can sign up for a live demo and I can set up a meeting with you. So you've got options so that I can answer your specific questions about any particular projects or needs that you want to address. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. SharePoint Dashboards is a easy to use platform. You have to write absolutely no code, and that's really the goal of this, is to make things simple and fun. And of course, also we're all about improving that tool set and interface. Just some more information about me. I'm originally from Iowa. I now live in North Carolina in Winston-Salem. Just some interests and hobbies. I really like classic video games, and I'm also really into running. I do a lot of running events and things like that. Those are my two kids, Grant and Josie. They're lots of fun, and they're what I like to be doing when I'm not at my computer doing fun stuff with them. All right, about SharePoint Dashboards, this is 100% compatible with SharePoint Online, Microsoft 365, and Microsoft Lists. You've probably been hearing a lot about Microsoft Lists, which is sort of some enhanced apps and functionality related to SharePoint Lists. Now, a lot of you probably have looked at or may even be using Power BI, and I'm going to make some comparisons here, and I want to talk about some contrast between using Power BI and using the tools that I'm going to show you today. Power BI is expensive. You have to pay for licenses not only for your developers who are building out Power BI dashboards. Microsoft also does require you to pay a license fee for any of your users who are merely viewing dashboards that have been built in Power BI. And therefore, it can become prohibitively expensive. My product is very attainable. You can see this is just a screenshot from the pricing page. You only need to get licenses for people who are building dashboards or templates. For many organizations, that may only be 1 or 2 users. There are no licenses required for anybody who's viewing that information. And that's the way that I think it should be. I don't think you should have to pay just to see charts and things like that. So just a cost comparison, a typical scenario. In Power BI, if you wanted to have the ability to have 2 developers and have 30 people to view those dashboards, you can see that could easily put you over $4,000 a year. With my platform, you can have unlimited viewers of these charts and dashboards that we're going to look at. You only need licenses for the people who are working with the tools that I'm going to show, and you can see that it would be much, much less expensive. There are other challenges as well. In Power BI, there's a steep learning curve. It's a very deep and complex platform. It is developer-oriented, requires a lot of complex configuration and setup, and a lot of training. The platform I'm going to show you today is not developer-oriented. Anyone can use the tools. Never at any time will you ever have to write or adjust any code when working with these tools. It's all done through simple and easy to understand configuration settings. So it's simple, it's fast, and it requires no training. You can figure this out yourself just through the interface and become immediately productive without having to do any type of training program whatsoever. So here you go, out of the box SharePoint. For those of you guys who've been in SharePoint for many years, this is all too familiar. It's the boring SharePoint list view. It's not interesting to look at. In fact, it makes you want to take a nap. But if you take the data and format it with some templates, you can make it a lot more interesting. And so here we see a chart demonstrating the data in the previous slide. What can you do out of the box with SharePoint in regard to charting? Not much. You have the quick chart web part. That's it. You can put it on a modern page, and it's very simple, and you can get a simple bar chart or a pie chart, but there's no configuration settings at all. You have no choices. What you see is what you get, and that's nice for the most simple of all case scenarios, but just no flexibility whatsoever. Not really an option when it comes to doing reports and charting and things of that nature. Which brings us to SharePoint Dashboards. That's what we're going to look at the rest of the presentation. This is a comprehensive platform, and I hope by the end of this presentation you'll be convinced that there is an incredible variety of options and versatility in terms of what you can accomplish to make your SharePoint environment look awesome and set up fantastic looking dashboards and charts and views for your users to look at. All right, next thing I would like to do, and again, I do want to remind you, please feel free to post questions using the chat interface in GoToMeeting. Don't be discouraged if I don't respond right away. I promise I will get to it because I do want your feedback and questions so I can address those. When you go to the SharePoint Dashboards site, on the dashboard, you're going to see a slideshow running, and this just gives you some screenshots of all kinds of different views and templates and things that you can set up. So it just gives you a nice high-level overview of some of the things that are possible, and you can read some other general information on the page. But of course, what you should do is click on the big green Get Started button, and then you arrive at the most commonly seen screen in this tool, which is the Templates gallery. This is a gallery which shows tile previews of all of the different templates that are available on this platform. There are a lot. There are a total of 70 different formatting templates. The focus of our presentation and what we're going to talk about first is charting. That's really our emphasis, but charting is just one section of all the templates that are available. I'm going to say this a couple times later in the presentation just to emphasize the point, but if you do nothing at all after this presentation, the very most important thing you can do is to go ahead and sign up to get access to free templates. You'll see the top link here. It says sign up to get 20 free templates. This is known as the light version, and it will let you use any of the templates on the screen that have a green free pill next to them. It'll let you get started. In the interest of being clear and transparent, I will tell you that none of the charting templates are free, but there are very useful templates, which I'll describe, which will help you begin to start using the platform, and will get you started so you can gain some familiarity before you consider that option. So that's extremely important, extremely simple and easy to do. You just click on that link, put in your name information and email, and then you can send that and you'll get your own login, and that's unlimited. You can continue to use those templates anytime that you want. All right, so that's a little bit just about the interface and how to get into the SharePoint dashboard site. Okay, so now we're going to focus in on charting, which is really the emphasis of the presentation today. So what we're going to do is go back and forth between the SharePoint Dashboards view and my SharePoint Online environment. So you're going to see me bounce between the two, and you'll begin to find out how this works. Okay, so first let me talk to you about the interface when you're in the template builder screen, because this is the screen that you're in for all of those templates that you just saw tiles of, and it always uses the same pattern. You've got a preview window in the middle of the screen, which starts by showing you a recorded movie to help you understand what that template's about. You can click the stop preview, and then you get a real-time preview of the template that you're working on. You have a configuration settings panel on the left. For the charting tools, there are a lot of options in terms of what you can configure. In fact, the first time you're in there, it's probably going to be a little bit overwhelming because there are a lot of options. But I'm going to talk to you about how that works. And by the end of this presentation, I think you'll begin to become more comfortable and realize that it's actually quite easy to work with. What's going on here is I can adjust these settings, and it's going to produce some code that I can copy back out to SharePoint. So I'm going to demonstrate how that works real quick. So let me choose the template, do a different one. And what I'm going to do is go over to SharePoint. Let me open that link right now. Get my meeting control thing out of the way. And let me show you a little bit how this works. So for any of you guys who are new to list or column formatting, you're going to use the format option. So I went to the list view selector. I selected format current view. And first, let's start with what you get before the formatting. So this is the data I'm working from. Very simple concept. I've got a SharePoint list, and in this case, I have columns to track sales numbers between January and December. So I have some columns that I made for that purpose. And so what I'm going to do is just copy this code over. In fact, I'm going to choose one that looks a little different. Here, let's do that one. And as I mentioned, you'll see this code here. You will never have to modify it in any way. If you can use Control-C and Control-V on your keyboard, you're in good shape, because that's all you have to do. You copy, paste, save. And there's the chart. So you can see it's a 1-to-1. Exactly what I see over here is what goes in and shows up in SharePoint. Now, what usually happens is you want to make some minor adjustments. You might say, that looks pretty good, but maybe I want to adjust something about it. I noticed, for example, something about this. The chart builder is automatically setting a minimum at 30,000. Maybe I want to have a 0 base for that. And I'll show you, this is a typical kind of situation. And also I want to have a higher end range. I can just go into the tool and make a little adjustment. So min-max is set to auto right now. I'm going to do manual and say 0 to, let's say 150,000. Okay, and notice the preview updates real time, and all I have to do is copy and paste that, and I'm able to address my change very quickly. And you can see that this changed immediately real time. And then if I want to make another tweak, maybe I want a slightly different color. Let's put a title on our chart, sales summary. And I don't know, let's change the font size a little bit. I'll bump it up to 16 pixel. And then maybe I want the font color to be different, navy blue, for example. I can just make these little quick adjustments. All I have to do is copy and paste. And it's exactly what I saw over in the tool. In the interest of time, I'm going to speed things along, but I want you to know that everything that I'm demonstrating and describing to you today, everything that you see in here is copy and paste, and it's going to look exactly the same way in your SharePoint environment. So it's really easy and fast to work with. Now we're going to run through multiple different types of charts in SharePoint just to show you some of the versatility and options that are available to you. All right, so let me close those. And we'll go on to another template. This one's different. In that case, it was getting data from one row. This is dealing with multiple rows and getting it where the SharePoint list has it row by row. So let me revert this to its original state. And what I want to show you is you're not having to do anything complicated in terms of your setup. You can easily understand the format of the SharePoint list. In this case, I just have a title field and a sales field, and then multiple records for that. That's all that I needed. Over in the template screen, in this case, I do need to give it the name of the field. It needs to know that. So I tell it the name of my field is sales. And as long as I follow that, I'm good. I should mention, because I didn't previously, in the lower left corner, there's a guide for every template that describes specific tips or pointers about using that particular template to help you, in case you're stuck, that type of thing. Okay, so once again, there's my template, and I just copy the code and paste it in. I don't have to do any configuration or setup or anything in SharePoint whatsoever. I merely need to paste and save. That's it, and it will show. Now these views, as is the case with any kind of list in SharePoint, you can show this in a list web part, a modern list web part on a SharePoint page. So if you wanted to show this, for example, on a home page or another page in SharePoint, you can just use the list web part. So that's easy to work with. Here's another one. I see an example. I've got my value label crunched up against the side, and we say, I don't like that. I'm going to give it a higher range. Okay, so I just come back here and I say, let's make that range 2500, copy the code, and paste it over here, and you'll see that within a few seconds, I was able to make a fix and adjust it to be the way that I want. There are tons of different options in terms of how you can tweak that look and feel. You can see these right now with 3D effect. I can do things like have a curved end on the bars and lots of granular control in terms of how I can adjust. This is really nice for those of you who really want to have that. I know from my experience working with charting tools, it's frustrating when maybe I can do 2/3 of the things that I want to, but there's something about that chart that I don't like the look of it, and there's no way for me to control it. You really, truly can control all aspects of this through the configuration settings. Here's that 3D bar height I mentioned. If you just like those bars to be flat, that's fine. It's just a different kind of aesthetic effect. So obviously everybody has their own tastes and preferences, but what's cool is I can sit here. Right now I'm just using my arrow keys on the keyboard. I can make these subtle little tweaks until I get this to look just exactly the way that I want. So there's lots of ability to control that. And just as is the case with any kind of tools, the more you work with this and work with these controls, it's going to become easier and easier. And you're going to get to the point where you can just fly around in this like a ninja and just put together awesome things and get it to look just the way you want. And it's just so fast to work with. Now, for all of the chart options, there are themes built in. You can think of these as idea generators. You can go ahead and use those pre-built themes if you want to, or just use it as a starting point. But this is nice because it gives you ideas. So every time you load up one of these chart templates, you can just pick the theme selector and just browse through. As I mentioned, there's 10 different options, and it just shows you some different looks that you could come up with. It's just different ways to visualize the data. So that's a very fast, easy thing you can do when you first get into this. Okay, so that's another one of those bar chart options. Another way that you might want to do things is group. This is more of a sophisticated concept. You can group and aggregate data based on logical steps. So in this case, I have it grouped by projects. Now it's showing it with 5 different sets of data. It doesn't have to be 5. This just demonstrates what you could do. Maybe I only have a group of 3 that I need to do. I just deleted those 2 fields. And what's awesome is every single time I make even the tiniest change on the left side, immediately you see exactly what you're doing. So there's no guessing games. There's no going through a bunch of screens and saving and then going back out to a dashboard only to find out that you messed up. You can see exactly what you're doing all the time. And that feedback loop is so important. Obviously, you may want to adjust the width of these. On all these different templates, you've got slider controls, and I can tweak the width depending on the real estate of my page or how I want that to look for the height or the width. Maybe I need to add a prefix because this is about money. I can just put a little $sign in there, that type of thing. And then you've got these color swatch pickers, and you've got lots of different colors. I don't need to put in hex color codes or do anything crazy like that. I can just click on a color that looks good, and then I can say, oh, I don't like that color. I need to take that off. So you just make the switches until you're happy with the results. And that's really all there is to it. So it's basically a situation where, there's no way to mess up because you just adjust it until it looks however you want. Okay, so that's a grouped bar setup. Let's go to the similar concept where instead of putting them side by side, we're going to have stack bars. Okay, and so instead of putting them side, this could be where you're thinking of a composite of, let's say it's financial, and you want to show, in total it was this much money, but you want to see it broken out by different sections. So by default, it's just got some field numbers in here, but you just have to plug in your SharePoint field names in the bottom, and it will automatically handle that all for you. For you guys who are more SharePoint veterans, you may be aware that sometimes things get finicky when you're dealing with SharePoint field names. There's an internal field name, and then there's what you see in the interface. And in SharePoint, it does crazy things like _x0020 _ for space. You don't have to deal with any of that. The tool handles that for you. Whatever you see in the interface, you just type that in here, and it's just going to work. Okay, so that's stack bars. Okay, so those have been all bars going left to right, right? So obviously, you might want to go top to bottom, right? Have columns. That would make sense. So let's look at some of those. Okay, so all the same concepts, all the same formatting. It's just now we're going left to right instead of, or excuse me, top to bottom instead of left to right. So you've got the columns just going across the page. Everything that you do in the other one, you can do the same things with this. It's just whatever your preference is, however it best matches up with your data, you can make that decision. You've got all the same capabilities for showing things in that orientation. So this is just like the other one we saw previous. Here's another one that uses multiple rows of data. So this little preview window just shows you that. Okay, so there's working with multiple rows of data. As I mentioned, just remember you've got this theme selector. Everything I'm showing to you, you're going to be able to get in and try out. So I did mention to you there is a purchase required to use the charting templates, but what's nice is you can get into every single one of them and use the configuration panel. What's going to be blocked is the code. It's not going to provide the code to put into SharePoint for you. But what's great about that is you don't have to just take my word for it. You can get into these configuration tools, and as I demonstrated, it shows you exactly what these charts look like. So you have a very good, clear picture of what kind of charts you can produce as you're considering that and making a decision as far as moving forward. Another thing you could do if you're thinking about using these tools, maybe you could start with 1 or 2 users and try it out, and then you can have some idea, and then maybe you give it to other people in your SharePoint team. So that's another approach as well. Okay, so let's go on to the next template. Let's go to grouping again. Okay, we saw grouping before, now it's vertical. In fact, this one makes more sense when you're doing grouping to me, but it's just a matter of preference, whatever you think is more intuitive for your users. And here's the stacked version of that. Okay, so this should look familiar to you. It's just, like I said, instead of having bars going left to right, they're going from bottom to top. Okay, obviously you can't talk about charting without having pie charts, right? Everybody likes pie charts. So here's the pie chart. And just as in the case with the other ones, you've got all these different themes available. You can decide where you want your legend to be, control the width. I haven't really talked about it much, but on all these, if you want, you can use background gradients. You don't have to. Sometimes it just adds a little visual flair, if you will. You could just use a standard background if you want. But if you want to add a little extra polish, there's just different things you can do. It'll overlay that. Obviously, you have to make adjustments on the font colors and things like that. So if I have a light background, I need a dark font face. So I just switch that over. But all of these little components, these little labels and containers and borders and all those things, I can control the colors and appearance of every single one of those things, which is great because if something's not quite right, that's exactly what I need to be able to do. The line color, in this case, if it's a light background, I would want to change the line color, so I'll switch that over. So some of what I'm showing you might be a little overwhelming. I'm moving fast with it, but what I want you to know, it is so easy to work with. And if nothing more, you can just pick from a theme without adjusting those settings. So here's an example with less pie wedges, so to speak. And you can't talk about a pie chart without talking about a donut chart, which is really the same thing. It's just got the cutout. So here's donuts if you want to go in that direction. One thing that I think is fun that you can do with the donut, you can actually control the cutout percentage. So if you watch very carefully, I'm going to adjust this, and you're going to see I can control how much is gone from the middle of the donut. See, I've got a very small hole in the middle, or I can make it more like a ring. So it's really whatever you want to do. You can control that. And you can even control where the starting point is in terms of the groups that you're working with. So that's the rotation angle. If I adjust that some, you'll see that the green's now rotated. So I can rotate that. It's pretty incredible how many different things you're able to control if you want to. Okay, so there's the donut. All right, let's go to a very important type of chart that we all need. And that's just the regular line chart. Let me close down some of these tabs before I run right off the edge of my screen. Okay, notice something about this line chart. There's actually a little bit of a curve to it. Most of us just think automatically about these sharp lines connecting dots. And in most cases, that's probably a good thing to do. But just to add a little polish to it, you can put a little bit of a subtle curve on it. It just might make it look a little more polished. That's really up to your own taste. That's just one of the options of what you can do here. Another cool thing with this template, you can control these points. I can choose different shapes on here. So maybe I want to do triangles. There's a triangle. They're little triangles right now. I can make them bigger triangles. I just go to the point size down here. Now I've got big triangles. So if you just want some ideas and you don't want to have to consider all those options, of course, go to this. Here's an example where the line is filled on the bottom. So if you want to have something like that, kind of looks like mountains, I guess you could say. It's just another option you can do. Here, to me, this looks like a volcano or fire or something like that, but it just serves to illustrate that you really can just come up with all kinds of interesting, unique look and feel. Now, some of you probably look at this and say, oh my gosh, I would never do that. And that's fine. You don't have to. If you want to go with more conventional look, obviously you can do that. So a little goes a long way when it comes to colors and things like that. All right, let's look at a totally different kind of chart, which is Gantt chart. And that has to do with dates. That's something that a lot of people want to use. And that's something, for example, you'd see in Microsoft Project. This is often used for project planning. Okay, so all you need for this is the start date, the end date, and that's all it's going to take to be able to format this. Let me go to the question. Somebody posted in here. Oh, where do you select which list you're working with? Good question, Joe. You just go into SharePoint, and we do that for the Gantt chart. You just go to your list view, and then you select it. So here's my Gantt chart list. You can get to that from the site content screen in SharePoint. And then what you want to do is create a view for your chart. So in my case, I created a view. I just saved this as a view called Gantt. And then that's where it is. And then I can reuse this view or make it show in other parts of SharePoint. Good question. Okay, so just like the other ones, I can go to these different themes and check it out. And what's cool about this is I can change the date range. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to one of these themes. I'll use one that is it the one that it's on right now? I'm being picky. I'm trying to choose one that I like a lot. All right, we'll do that one. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this code. The field names are fine. In this list, I do have start and end in there. Copy. And then I'm going to do format this view. Copy and paste. All right, so there it is. Now, there's something I already don't like about this, and this is illustrating how you can make those adjustments really easily. My projects all end right towards the beginning of the year, so I don't need all this extra space in there. I kind of want to cut off that part of the chart, if you will. So I'm going to change my date range. I'd also like to make it wider, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let me come back over here. And what I'm trying to illustrate to you is how simple it is for you to make these kind of adjustments. And I can promise you, having worked with other charting tools and things like that, that is not normally the experience. It can be a tremendous hassle. Okay, so I changed the end date to 4/1/2022. I'm just redefining my range, and I want to make my chart width wider. Just typed in 1200. So that just really took me a couple clicks, and then copy and paste. And there you go. See how it fills up the area now? I've got it stretching across my SharePoint page, and now the range is more the way that I want it. It's going from January last year to April of this year. Now it's making more sense. Okay, believe it or not, we did go through all the charting templates, except for one, which you can check out on your own. There's one called Radar. That's more uncommon, sort of like a pie chart. A little bit different kind of a concept. It's actually demonstrating scale as opposed to having bigger pie sections, but it's just another fun kind of chart that you can use to get people's attention. So that's another one available to you. All right, so that's all charting templates. Now we're going to kind of jump and move on to different kinds of templates. I do want to just mention again, because I just don't want you guys to lose sight of kind of next steps and options. Once again, I just want to repeat, if nothing else happens after looking at this today, the most important thing is to go ahead and sign up, because 20 of these things that I'm showing you, you can use free, and it's unlimited, and you can get in there, and there's lots of cool things you can do. Many of the things I'm getting ready to show you are templates that you can tap into there. That's really your first step. And then as far as upgrade, you can go to that page if you want to get pricing options. It's very straightforward. You can just look through the licenses. Obviously, just like other computer software, there's volume pricing. So if you get more licenses, the cost per user is lower. And obviously, you should contact us if you have questions. But basically, you can just fill out this form. That's really all there is to it as far as that goes. It is a subscription model. And we do provide support. You have email support in case you have any questions as you're getting started with using the templates. And that is throughout the life of that subscription. We do add and upgrade to these all the time. These 70 templates you've seen. This have all been added over the course of the last year, but I'm posting updates, which you will see. Let me get in there and show you. When you click the what's new on your login screen, you can see a log of everything that's been going on. So all these log entries, you can see these are all different templates that have been added or improved or featured. So that's a nice thing to know. You're not just buying a static set of things that you're going to use. You're actually getting a subscription, getting access to something where there's all the time new options and features being added, which is awesome. It means there's always cool stuff coming around the corner. I send out monthly newsletters just to remind people of some of those feature ads and things like that. Lots of cool things to take advantage of. So as I mentioned earlier, that was just charting templates. That's at the top of the templates gallery. But then you've got all these other things. You've got templates for different buttons that you can put in SharePoint views. You've got lots of templates related to dates in terms of KPIs and things like that. And progress indicators. We're going to talk about that coming right up. Those are obviously very closely related to charting, status indicators, and then all kinds of additional column templates. So we're going to look through some of those examples now, but those are all part of it. So when you get this charting package to solve your charting needs and solve all those headaches, you're getting a ton of other very cool options along with that. The charting templates are in fact only 20% of the total templates that are available here when you get that. So it's just cool that you get all these very cool visual things that you can do. All right, so let's go to it. There's so many more cool things that I want to show you. I'm going to show you something you probably didn't know you could do in SharePoint Online. You can have Google Maps show up. So if in your organization you guys have location-based data, this is a surefire way to improve the appearance of that. So you can, basically what you do, you need to get a free key from Google, as long as you're not doing hundreds of thousands of map images in your environment, and that would be pretty shocking to me if you are. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You just drop in your key, and then you can do different kinds of maps. So I can do road map style or satellite style, and then I can set up this template to show that in different widths. And all it needs is just simple address information. It could be a zip code, it could be an address, it could be just a city. Google's smart. They know how to read that data, and it's very easy to set up. So you can configure that all in here. You can even configure the zoom level. If you watch this map very closely of the White House, I'm zooming out from it. And now you see North America. And I'm doing that just with the number key on my keyboard. So this stuff is incredibly fun to me. That's the maps. Let me show you in SharePoint just to prove to you that, yes, it does, in fact, load in SharePoint the way you want. In fact, let's go ahead and change this one. Here we got Brooklyn Bridge. This must be New York. It is. And I just click on this card, and I'm going to change the address. So let's change it to... I'm going to change it to where I live. Okay, I just need to find the field. I've got tons of fields in this list. Okay, so we'll do Winston-Salem, North Carolina, save. And you can see it updated real time. So what happens when I click on it? What do you want it to do? You want it to open the map. Okay, so if the user clicks on it, there they go. Boop, right over to Google Maps. So that's a really fun one. All right, let's keep rolling. I am next going to show you the templates that I use more than any other template. I'm not exaggerating. These are buttons that you're going to use in SharePoint lists. For those of you guys who have used SharePoint a lot in the past, you probably liked and used the edit button. Of course, it's gone in modern list views. Well, it's back. There it is. You can see it right there. So you can make these buttons look however you want. But it does exactly what you think. It just opens the edit form. This is without me having to go in that stupid context menu. There's a view button, and these are column formatting templates. Here's one for the context menu. Maybe some of your users don't know to click on these little dots on the title to get to there. You can make a little button for them to open that. There are lots of button templates. Most of those actually are free ones. So those are part of what you get automatically. You don't have to pay any money to get access to those. Very fun, very useful. I use it all of the time. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is inline edit. So I'm sure you guys must be aware there's an edit grid view option in SharePoint, which puts you into an Excel style grid, and you can just click into fields and edit them. So that's nothing new. What you now can do, and this is a new option that was provided by Microsoft within the last few months, you can set fields individually through formatting and through these templates to be editable by the user. So notice there's a little colored border around that. That's set with the template for inline editing. So I set that to be red, and it's just allowing the user, maybe for particular fields, you want them to be able to edit inline. And so you can turn that on and do that. Okay, very closely related to charting are indicators, progress indicators. In fact, in some of these, you see something that's pretty much a pie chart. So what you can do is take numeric data, such as a percentage or things like that, and you can indicate progress to your users based on that. And just like all the charting templates and things I've shown to you, you can adjust the colors, the look and feel, and make all kinds of tweaks and adjustments to get that to look however you want. Now, this is all kinds of stuff packed into one view. I obviously would never normally put this in a view for my users. This is just because it's my sandbox to show how these concepts work. So notice this one uses inline edit and displays that chart. So I'm just going to change that to 50%, and boom, we've got a progress indicator at 50%. And let's move it down to 10. And isn't it cool how all these things change immediately, real time? There's no delay or waiting for updates or anything. Here's another one that's done through SVG, which is some crazy stuff that goes in the background. I'm not going to go into a long explanation about that. But this is like a gauge on your car, like the gas gauge or the speedometer. If you like that concept, you can show little wedges and have the meter kind of go up and down. So if you look very closely, you should be able to see the little needle moving from left to right on this. But in the configurator template, you can actually pick the color. So maybe you want it to be like red, like if it's a high value, it's really bad. You can do that kind of thing. Right next to it is another option for QR codes. If you are in a manufacturing type setting or something where you need to have something scannable that you can put on a sticker and attach to devices, maybe for asset tracking or that type of thing, that QR code could be really handy. In fact, I'm going to show you asset cards in just a second. So progress indicators are very closely related to charting, and this is going to look much more eye-catching than what you're going to get with out-of-the-box options. There, you see that. This is one that has a gradient background on it, and you can pick from any number of gradients. Okay. And keep posting questions in chat. I'm watching for that, and I will respond and answer to those. Next one, we're going to go to a fun one. This is just a simple toggle button. Okay, everybody uses checkboxes, right? It's like the most simple kind of field there is. You can put a toggle button using a template for that where the user can just click on it, and it can just move, back and forth, setting it no or yes and giving you a visual indicator. This is just great for interfaces where you want to allow your user to make simple updates. Maybe you don't want them to have to go into the stupid edit form and go into this whole side panel and dig through all this information. It'd be a lot more user-friendly interface if you can just give them a toggle button to do that. So that's one of the templates. That's a free one. Okay, and then let's go to images. Images are important. We talk about all this presentation is about visual indication of data. Obviously, images are going to be a key part of that. The SharePoint image field will give you a tile, and you can click on it to open it up. There is a template for this. I've seen this referred to in many different ways. I refer to it as a shadow box. But basically, this gives you a hover image when you scroll over things. So a very nice way to improve the usability and experience for your users. Okay, next one. I said I was going to show you asset cards. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so these are asset cards. Now this is a lot more explicitly defined. In this particular case, in the template and the instructions, it's going to tell you which fields that it wants you to have. And in fact, a downloadable template is provided, but there are some concepts that are established for this. So for example, you'll see a field for category, ID, and then there's a make and model, a description at the top. There's a quantity, what was the purchase date, who's the user, serial number, all of those types of things. That's all going to be baked into this particular template. But I'm sure you would agree this is much better than just the standard SharePoint grid view, especially that you have the image attached to it, the image field, and then you see the status tracking as well. So you can use this asset tracking template to have a nice card style view to show information to users. Okay, approvals happen all the time. There's tons of need for that in SharePoint. This shows you an example where you can consolidate and show in a checklist the response that you have for the various approvers. So this is showing the name of the approver, and it's showing whether they approved or declined. All right, so let me go ahead and I'll adjust the second template, and I'm going to kill it right at the end of the line. So we've got the first 4 people approved. I'll go ahead and decline at the end and hold up the whole train just because. All right, so I'm going to do edit. And in my SharePoint list, I have a field called approval 5, and I'm going to say nope. And you see it changed to red, and I get a little thumbs down icon. Just as you would expect, just like the charting templates, you can control everything about this. The font, the icons that are used for the approved, not approved, you could use checkboxes, all of those types of things, and also, of course, the total number of approvers. Okay, and let's go on to the next one. That's approval tracking. Okay, if you are working with a lot of images, especially for people who are more oriented around marketing or design, you may have libraries of images and you want to browse through those. This is that type of view. So SharePoint's not going to give you that type of view. This basically takes images and tiles them across the page. And this would be great if you're doing a lot of managing of image assets for particular types of projects. And you can control these, and it just puts it in a tile style interface, just a much more attractive way to look at a library of images. So that's image tiling. Navigation's a big one. So let me show you a couple of different navigation views. You may have noticed I have something interesting on the homepage of this site. This is a template referred to as promoted links. Now, I love Microsoft's quick links web part, but it's somewhat rigid that Microsoft doesn't want you to break out of their branding controls and things like that. Well, you can do that with this setup. So this is something distinctly different. I can actually individually control the hover color on these cards. I can control the color of these and assign icons, things like that. I can make these curved corners, or I can change the size. It is a nice, easy way for you to put a cool visual navigation. That's kind of what you call promoted links or featured links. If you have a lot more granular navigation, you want to need to do like a comprehensive hierarchical navigation. Maybe I need to put together a hub page that's going to have 50 or 60 or 100 links on it. That's what this is perfect for. So this is a navigation tree. This is what you call hierarchical navigation. It goes multiple levels deep. So if you look at this, I have styling. I have a level 1 links, I have level 2 links, and level 3 links. And then I have nodes below that, and it's all driven off of SharePoint list data. Also, I have information in here to be able to flag links that are new. I can explicitly control that by checking a box that says they're new. This is showing you a few different styles all on one page, but you can see based on the fonts and everything, I could set up a really nice looking navigation page, which would provide links to a whole bunch of resources all in one location. So that's a really cool custom navigation option. All right, so now we're going to come up on dates. Date tracking is always going to be super important in SharePoint, and there's lots of things you can do with dates. I'm going to show you a free one that's immediately accessible and available to you. If you put this template on there, this just allows you to take the plain vanilla boring date field in SharePoint and it adds little buttons on there. So if you watch very carefully, I'm clicking on the little plus button and it's incrementing the date up 1 every time I do that. Or obviously I can hit the minus, move it down. It could be there's some kind of date tracking list where you want to make it really simple and easy for users to do that. Maybe they don't want to go into the edit form. They want to work fast. Also in that, I've got the inline edit, which we looked at before. So it bakes all that together, and now you've got this cool interactive inline date editing field to save users the hassle from always having to go into the edit form. So that's a fun one, and you can tap into that right away. Obviously, you are going to be configuring the font, the size of the buttons, all of those type of things. So if you don't like green and blue, it's completely according to your own taste. You can make those black or red or whatever color you want to do, and all that same functionality is going to be there. Okay, so that's inline date edit. All right, so let's go to a date do, a till do scenario. This happens all the time, right? We're always dealing with things being overdue or getting ready to be due, that type of thing. And so we want to have indicators to help us identify that type of thing. So this is very simple. It's just using one field to look at the value in another and comparing it to the current date. So notice when I change this date that it's going to do the math and calculate the days. So now this says, oh, you're fine. This is 8 days till due, March 11th. But if I back it up and say, no, it was due on February 10th, it says, oh, you screwed up. This was due 21 days ago. Very simple concept. You can, like the other templates, you choose different colors and things like that according to your own taste. But till due is obviously a super useful concept that's going to come up in all kinds of situations. Sometimes you want to do some analysis to track the difference between dates. And there's lots of ways to do that. I'm back in my tool now, and I'm going to show you. There's all kinds of options with this, but this is a date time difference tracker where you can do things like make decisions about, I want to track the number of days, or maybe I want to track the number of days and hours. You can see that, and I want to format it in a very particular way. That's what this template allows you to do. Maybe I want it more packed in. See how it says D and H instead of days and hours? Whatever your personal preference is to show that data. But this does all that math for you. Here's a more verbose one. And it, just like the other one, can change colors depending on whether it's a negative or positive value. So date time difference tracking is certainly very handy. Here's a fun one. Star rating. Obviously, all of us know the concept of like 5-star rating, that type of thing. We see it all the time on review systems. Well, you can make a little interactive review column for your users. It's inline edit, just like the other ones. Gives them a little hover icon, and when they click on it, it's going to update the field. That just uses a choice column. You could have options. It doesn't have to be 10. I just happen to have this at 10. You can do 5 stars. And they just click on that, and it will update that to whatever they do. So just a really fun, easy one that you can tap into. And you can change the icons, obviously, just like everything else. Document thumbnail. This just shows a preview, just like the image one we saw before. So just a way to give like a visual indication, and then the user can click on it, it'll open right to their document. And then there's buttons for other things that we didn't even yet look at. If any of you guys use Microsoft Flow, you can actually trigger Flow from a button in the interface. You can make that look however you want. I should mention that there's tons of different icons options available. So for example, for the edit, we didn't yet talk about the icons that are from Microsoft. So for the edit button, for example, if I click on the find icon, it opens the page, and these are the Office UI icons. There's a million different options in here. You can search. So I can say, folder. Maybe I want a folder for some reason. I just right click that, copy friendly name, and then paste. There's the folder. Now I've got that icon on my button. You've got those type of icons. Believe it or not, you can actually use emoji icons as well. In that case, it's pretty simple. You just copy the icon and you paste it in here. And I say, all right, I don't know. It's according to what you want to do. So I'm not recommending one or the other, but you have different icons. And then also in here are baked in icons. There's icons provided to you as part of the interface. So if you go to like the status indicator fields, we have some of that. I'll show you that right now. So in our interface, you can see I have large buttons there, or maybe I want a smaller one. There's all kinds of options that you can use in connection with indicators, and you can configure that however you want to do it. So we've run through a lot. I know probably this feels a little bit overwhelming. These are the things I'm hoping that you'll take away from this. I want you to see that this is really a comprehensive platform to provide visual indicators and about your data and give an attractive and interactive environment in SharePoint. It's incredibly easy to use, and really all you have to do is just experiment and get in there. So your path forward is just to get started. Go ahead and get your free sign up. All you need to do is provide your name and email address, and you'll get your login. As far as the free templates, those are easy to find. You just look for the little green pill that says free. And then when you're ready, you can do the upgrade, and that'll give you access to everything on the screen. If you find yourself having some questions about it, or you want to understand how this plan can apply to what you're doing in your organization, if you want to have an interactive meeting and talk about some of those needs and questions, then what you should do is just go in here and request the demo. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I've kind of opened up your eyes to some possibilities in terms of what you can do. I'm going to stop the recording at this point, and I'm going to stay in the session to answer questions. So for anybody who does have questions that they put in chat or just want to ask me, please stay, and I'll be sure to address those. So thank you very much for being here for this today. I hope this was interesting to you, and I hope you're able to take advantage of all these cool formatting options.